It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hey guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had the red done on my arm. So you can see it's healed now. It was quite a bit brighter. More like a cherry red before. Or like fire hydrant kind of red. But it's darkened, but not too dark, to that same tone that's basically on the bottle. It looks a little bit more red than, say, my neck. But that's partly because my neck is always shadowed. So when it's not, you can see it is that same tone. Because at first I was kind of like, is my arm actually more red than my neck? It's actually not. It's just, again, you see it more clearly because it's not constantly tucked in under that shadow. But it obviously has achieved the effect that I was hoping it would in separating the elements. So when the only parts of your arm that are in any way or shade black are the foreground, that foreground stands apart so much more. So as cool as the red is, once again, the red is there more to contrast the black than it is to stand out. That being said, it may in fact stand out more than the black designs. Long term, there are some spots that will need to be ironed out a little. I expected that. It won't be a full second pass. It'll be more of a skim. There's a few spots on my inner bicep that are pretty caked in scar tissue. My arms are probably the worst scarring on my body. I've had my arms tattooed more than 10 times each. And I do mean every single square inch of my arms. So the idea of getting out of that with no scar tissue is pretty hard to imagine, but not too bad overall. Just more so right in here, there's a few spots that aren't solid red, and so I think that what will happen is, that being session 5, as I've said before, I expect this sleeve to take 9 to 10 sessions. Session 6 will be the rest of the red. Then we'll do a session on highlights, second pass of the white. Then we'll do a skim of the red, and then probably a total touch-up round for between 9 and 10 sessions. Anyway, I don't want to spend the entire time talking about my sleeve. I will have to get back to that here in a bit, but obviously I had another session with Rick, and we got more of the color in the face here. And as you can see now, the color palette is working together overall more than it was before. The first few sessions of color we did on this, it was kind of like I gave Rick full leeway to use every single color, see what works best, because we want to be able to use whatever color we want. Say I want to do purple down the road, or blue down the road, or red. I wanted to know exactly what colors and what brands and what shades work best, right? So the initial, I would say even up to 8 to 10 sessions on the chest piece were kind of like troubleshooting or experimentation mainly. It wasn't so much about aesthetic. Sorry, I'm messing with the camera here a little. It was just more about let's figure out what works best, and then once we figure that out, and this was always the plan, and I think I mentioned this right away, was let's figure out which colors work best, and then we can always change them. We can always touch them up as we need to, or do a second pass later, whatever. So now we have done that second pass in the face. There's a few spots that didn't get to. My skin was starting to tighten up. We did about 3.5 hours. Again, we're layering color, so there's a lot of tones that go into making this look this way. For example, these eyes look like they're just white, but there's actually blue and white in there. There's probably 6, 7 different shades that go into just the surrounding of those little highlights. Every part of this, I think he had 27 ink caps this time. I didn't get a picture this time, but every single part of this is so many little colors put together. So it's incredibly elaborate, intricate, detailed color work. It takes a long time to do that. So even if we're only covering a certain small base, it's just that there's been so much that's been put into that. But by now it's pretty undeniable, and I think putting that red background and obviously this rose too behind this tentacle really did pull that side out. The drop shadows helped, and then the clearer face is really helping this thing stand now. Now, you can see this at any light. You can see this from any distance across the room. This is 2.5 days after I had it done, so it's got that kind of shell-like thickness where I believe it's going to start peeling right away. I think it'll probably be fully peeled by tomorrow. And when I show this off next week, it won't look much different than it does now because, again, the color and black mix most primarily over the first 2 days, and they don't really change much after that. So I think this is pretty much the face they're going to be looking at. Again, there'll be a few things left to do. We didn't do the white, the second pass in here, but we did over here. You can see the difference. So that's first pass white, that's second pass white. But everything else pretty well was done. So the next session that we do on this, we'll either be doing in the brain again for the second pass on the colors in there. We've got to do the eyebrows still. And then we got to come down and do the lower jaw. After that, I think probably one full touch-up on each side. And then background. Obviously, there's a little bit more to do. I think there might be a full touch-up run of this after that, like the face. But I think that we're getting pretty close. What is this, session 17 or 18? I don't even remember now. I think it's session 17. But I think I know what the next 5 look like on it. After that, I'm not real sure. So I might be finishing this around 22 sessions, somewhere in there. Which obviously means we'll be working on my sleeve in not too long. And honestly, because I've enjoyed working on my chest so much, it hasn't felt like it's taken that long. Even though when I say out loud it's been 22 sessions, that might sound like, or it might be 22 sessions. And that might not be all there is. I'm not sure. That sounds like a lot to someone, but it doesn't sound like a lot to me. Probably because I'm used to working on huge tattoo projects that take forever. That just sounds like a reasonable number to me. It doesn't sound like anything outlandish. Then again, I'm also pretty patient with this stuff. Someone else might be, dying to get this done by now, but I've enjoyed every part of this, and I feel like I've come out of it with more knowledge than I went into it with. So more than just getting a cool tattoo, I've also learned so much along the way. I mean, look what's happened to my arm sense. I've gotten more confident, and we're able to cover ground quicker now because of the time we spent working on the chest. All of the stuff that we've learned working on this is going to directly impact the work that happens on my other sleeve, my left sleeve. So you'll probably see a more rapid development of that now because of the time we spent working on the torso and then the chest. So it all benefits. And it's going to instruct all of Rick's cover-up work from here out as well. He's told me numerous times he's learned more working on me these last few years than he's learned in his entire career. And I believe that too, because it's easy to imagine you're having to think outside the box every single time you start a tattoo session. Anyway, I'm super thrilled with how this is looking. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to, I'm still using a front-facing camera. I always told you guys I never really want to get into, editing these or maneuvering the light or doing anything crazy. If you can't see it, you can't see it. I can maneuver the light to make this even more visible, But at the end of the day, if you can't see the tattoo, you can't see it. And I never really wanted to go fucking with anything. I never really wanted to be engineering anything or altering the evidence or showing anyone something that isn't you couldn't see in real life. If anything, I wanted it to be a case of if you come and meet me, you see the tattoo even clearer in person. I actually had a guy come down here. He came all the way from Texas just the other day. He had to get a picture with me. So Kevin, the guy I do Remy Reacts with, took a photo of the two of us together. He's been following me for years, and he was nearby, and he wanted to meet me to see that I was real. And as flattering as that was, I also think it's kind of silly that people could think that I'm just making this up or something. And he didn't mean it in any mean way or anything like that, and I didn't take it that way. It was kind of interesting to see that and hear that in person, that this guy had a bit of skepticism about whether any of this was real. So I guess I should take that as a compliment, but I actually find it kind of strange. Anyway, I've got another session coming up tomorrow. I was actually not sure I was going to have time to do this one today. Terry and I are finishing the red on my arm tomorrow. My lower arm is not nearly as big as my bicep. Like, my bicep is quite large. So we're pretty sure we're going to have time to finish all the red. We're going to be bordering the rows with red on my hand as well. So that should tie everything together. And because my lower arm is clearly not as big as my bicep, we also plan to get back in here to kind of bring the red all the way down. So again, we left that break here where we're not working on skin that's already been traumatized recently. So the red is just going to come up and tie in right around here to my bicep and armpit. So that'll be what we do first, because the armpit is pretty... It's an interesting area to tattoo. I don't mind sitting for armpits at all. I've never minded them. But I think it's harder for Terry to think about tattooing that. There's a lot of stretch marks and stuff in there, so we're going to start there. Then we're going to start, after that we're going to go down to the hand, frame the hand, and then just work up the arm. I think there's probably about 4.5 hours there. Could be more, but that's, I think, realistic. So I'll be making another video here either tomorrow or the next day, and talking more about that session and showing off. It'll be cool to show off the fresh red next to the healed red. And this color is really doing it for me. So you can probably bank on there being a lot more of this red velvet on black in my suit as time goes on. Anyway, I'll show this off nice and close. So the chest piece is certainly coming together now. I don't think there's anything left to say negatively about the possibilities of this stuff anymore. If anyone out there was reserving judgment, it's over. I've won. If you don't like what we've done artistically, that's fine, but you can't argue that this is doable. Anyway, I'll be talking to you guys again soon. Have a great day.